Hi there. So I'm Karen Janelle Davis, and thank you for connecting in here. Have you thought of mentoring? I mean, real deep, actually getting some results mentoring. May I introduce Rachel Ann?
Hi, Karen.
Yeah, beautiful, Rachel. We've had a lot of work together, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So besides being friends and knowing each other quite deeply for many, 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 many years, taken up a mentorship, or did, it's not in place now, but a mentorship process of, Rachel, what did you actually say to me at the beginning? How did it even start up? Because it was not in my field at the time.
No.
And you instigated it.
Yep. Because that's what I always saw you to do, was have people come and you mentor them into a process of the collection of what you have learnt over your years, but also what you do. Because Karen just does, right? She's not like you are not like anyone else that I know of. I'm very lucky to be associated with you. So I was able to connect face to face and say, look, you know what? I really am needing some help here. I know what my calling is, or have an understanding of what my calling is, but I've got no tools that really I know how to do processes. So can you mentor me and teach me it was the fundamentals, wasn't it? It was teaching me to be able to do in a session, a structured session, something where if I had a curly client, I knew how to, I mean, this is real stuff. Work out my grounding, what works for me, what doesn't. It was because I was working through, as an intuitive, I was working out what's real for me and what's not, and I didn't have the qualifications and that's really what it came down to, is I needed someone to, being you, because I had no qualifications that people like to see on the wall of what supposedly I can do for them.
Yeah.
But I actually have the intuitive gut or guidance that can, however, I need a tangible as well.
Yeah, some structure in place.
And
I think you're pointing beautifully to, see, I may have certificates, quite a few of them, but I've never had a client ask to see them. And I don't even know where they are. I think they're stacked up somewhere. So to anybody who's listening here to what Rachel's actually saying, there's a real truth in it. You think that people want the certificates, and there's a certain amount of development that you go through through a learning process. But sometimes you can go through deep programs and then come out the other end, and when it all integrates, you're just like, actually what I really like is this part. So what we were able to do was get some structure in place so that you could break the structure, but you always had somewhere to go back to.
Yeah, exactly. And break the structure. You break it. But also to have the hard learning of, I was autopilotly, great thing. That really brings
I like that.
I would go into a form of autopilot and not even realize that I was doing something that had been taught, but you have been teaching me over years as well. So, and then really not giving recognition to where it was coming from as well. So it was a learning understanding around using tools, but not having to be the owner of it, recognizing the source of it as well, because I think that creates a nice, what my learning now is it creates the flow.
Yeah.
That makes any sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. There's an interesting thing, because coaching, mentoring has such a fine line, and if it's your love and joy, then you're always kind of sharing, right? And what we do, I mean, conversations you have with the people you love, you're always sharing what you've been playing with or learning. There's always a learning. There's always an inter-exchange that happens. Yeah, that happens. When it's a structured classroom, I mean, I love that environment. But it's not for everybody, because sometimes you can't go for 7 weeks and dip your toes into something and leave everybody behind, the cats and the dogs and this and that. But what can happen through some decent conversations and putting some foundational steps in is some real filling in the gap stuff, because there's an intuitive, any intuitive actually is following in that moment the perfect
Mm.
thing. But what happens on a bad day?
Yeah.
As in when you're not in alignment, or when sort of the client comes in with something and you're just like dumbfounded. Where's your tools then? And so sometimes the tools, the access and the cognitive knowledge of the tools, the cognitive structure of it, when truly deeply blended, allows you to be a real artist. And so there's a process of going through the mind, understanding, the sort of deviling with the information, and then taking it down into a practical use, going and playing with it, and then having someone to talk with about it, Rach?
Very much so. And that's what it really came down to being, is being able to talk through stuff with you and understand, as you said, the different cognitive understandings of it, but then how to blend it, you know. And I wasn't so confident in my capabilities then. Remember, I was really questioning, is this the path I should? I was scared to step out and say what my calling was at that time. So it was helping me to really start to open, and it also showed business side of it as well. Because you didn't just share this; it wasn't just coaching. You gave me you opened up. I mean, it's hard because yes, how we know each other, but as we did treat it like a mentor, as in I came in as a client in that moment, and you opened up Karen's shop of behind the scenes of how you do things. You got me to touch on some, I know, but you know, and you were still building at that time as well. So I got to see how, I mean, you had a whole big business already in place and had been for a long time, but you were also structuring in new learnings that you had coming through at that time. And so I got to see how you were expanding your business as well. So it was another form of learning too. Not saying that's what you're going to be offering everyone, but what I'm explaining is a mentor. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see how to do X, Y, Z, you know, right through.
pretty honest in it too, eh? This didn't work for me, you know, or I tried this and I tried this and I tried this and that didn't work for me. What I've found is, and so it short circuits a very long process. The application of the actual practical application of things, there's a real bridge, and I'm always fumbling through, quite gutsy, give something a go, and then look back and have a look as like what worked inside of that, what didn't, how would I do that differently, etc. And this is the process that everyone goes through, but if you can have somebody who can help out, oh my God.
Exactly. And the awesome thing is with me, you don't just hold my hand. You've at times let my hand go as well and gone, no, this is your learning now. So it doesn't just stop with the mentor. It was 3 months we structured this one. I don't know what you're going to be designing for them, but my biggest learnings was after the mentor, if that makes so. Where I am today and moving forward, and my confidence about what I do now, and it's going to keep on expanding, is that I've been able to come back to you and talk about things as well. But there's been times you have gone, actually, no.
Yeah.
You know?
But there's something, can I speak to that?
Yeah.
There's something in that, because it's this, and it works for the same with your clients, right? And you know this, we've had this conversation. You're teaching skills, you're helping, you're clearing, you're doing whatever you're doing. But there's a point where you got to let go of the training wheels for them to have a real damn good go at it, and then we have that mop up, clean up thing, because it's not about creating dependence, it's about creating powerful transformational change with your client and or at a mentorship role. It's just
I had to adjust my whole presence there, because yes, that's when it was the biggest transformational. That was, in those moments, was when I had my biggest. I threw everything out. You know, there were moments I just went, fuck it. I've just no.
Yeah.
You know, but then I started to bring things back in that did fit with me, did work with me, and I did add to them or take a little bit away from it and
make it your own. At least you had something to throw out of the cot.
Yeah. Exactly.
Hands in the air. Oh my God.
Exactly. And I had other learnings that I had taken on in different, because we all collect.
Absolutely.
Well, I do anyway. But they don't mean anything unless you actually have a process of putting them in place. And I've noticed that a lot of them blend in anyway, if you're prepared to work with them and make them, they become a part of you. So your teachings or the way that you mentor, because this is what it's beautiful, because you don't, just because you actually have a lot of knowledge doesn't mean that you say this is my way and it's the only way. You're very pure in how you do things, and I call that's my words around it, because you take learnings. It's very important for you, how you resource, how you pull things in, and that's valuable. That that you're getting true valuable, train the trainer level, not just going to a workshop and okay, I know that now.
I am very clean on the pure source of where I either access that, learnt that, or who directly, because somehow in life I've always been at the point when somebody's coming into a new growth, and so the origination of something, it just seems to be what's happened. So I've seen the origination of that, and then that thing evolve, and so I've taken the origination, the purity of that, and then evolved with it too. So yeah, that's why I can be a little bit of a purist sometimes.
But it's good though, in your line of what you actually provide, Kat. That's perfect. It's actually what you want as a mentor, as a specialist, as an expert, and remove the association of our connection, because I don't know who knows, we're sisters, right? but that doesn't matter. In a form of what we do it's still a point that's important. That's why I came to you as the mentor, asking you to help me to be able to actually put a process in place, to actually get some structure, to understand how to do business with. It wasn't even about spirituality at that point. It was understanding my gifts, trying to find out what my gifts were really, and yet I'd had them all my life.
This digs deeper, right? Because the frequency masterclass that I do is all about trust, and Rachel's pointing to this right now. It's that inner self-trust. It's that the clearing in order of all of the learnt stuff, the learnt behaviors of living life, and coming back into that deep inner trust. Is there a deep inner trust? Because you're already an intuitive, you're already there. But has that trust deepened just through the processes, not through me doing the work, you doing?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
There's this thrown around word of being authentic. I'm going to use it because in this moment I truly am more authentic in who I am now than all the hats I was trying to wear before. Trying to be something, trying to be someone. And I've had really big learnings just recently, but that's also been a contributor to what was. It's all awareness around what is the movement forward, what's the value, not getting stuck. And I fell on my face again,
That's the most exciting thing though. We become ongoing learners.
Yeah.
Because it's the passion. That would be my deepest passion, is that generative learning process, consistently and continuously learning, and the questions that we ask in that learning process. And this is most definitely what would have been a massive part of what we went through, because it's just ultimately what what I do.
Exactly. And being able to come back and say, and I know this can happen with clients that will come to you, come back and say, I fucked up. I see it, I know it, but I don't want to wallow there anymore. I don't want to, I'm ready to take that next step.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and that's, I think, valuable, particularly with your mentoring, is having it where, because I would like to think that the people that come to you are going to be big players. They're wanting to not just they're wanting more in their business, more in their lives. And so they need to be able to come back and say to you, you know what, Kaz, it didn't work. Or Karen, sorry. Family nickname. But that's it. At that level, it moves part, because it's real trust.
Yeah.
There's real trust that needs to be in there because of the levels of what you're working with.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and the process itself is sometimes there'll be almost induced confusion, lots and lots and lots of information given purposely in order for an overwhelm to occur, so that we pop out of that space. And other times when it's being asked for something, it's like, not yet. And that's not actually, it's a great thing. I was going to say it's not a bad thing, but it's actually a great thing, because it also makes your awarenesses go into higher levels, and you come up with your own truth, because the ultimate thing for anybody you ever work with is for them to come up with their own truth, not yours, because otherwise they're wearing your tight knickers and tight jeans or whatever that are not theirs.
Yep.
So there's a real beautiful synergy in the pull and push of the exploration of internal self developing. I mean, whether it's the mastery of the language skills, or the structure of how an intervention works, or whether it's the client expectations and how to do you first, because that would be another big one that I'd say would always be a part of the mentoring, is self first, because you can't help anyone else until that's sorted. So.
No, you definitely can't. And if you try to, you're actually creating more damage than you are. Good. And that's actually been my biggest learning up to this point. Thank you. Is realizing that when someone says, I mean, you don't say you're not ready, but in a particular situation where it comes up as being that, there's a reason, particularly if you're moving into a field where it is transformation you're working with of some sort, you're transmuting, you're holding space for people, and it's energy that you're working with. There's a lot of borderline things that if you're bringing in your shit,
which we always do, right? We always bring our shit in a current space until we're no longer that, because that's the consistent evolution of what we have to offer. I love it. I love what you said, because there's just such deep truth in the evolution of self. Because then, whether you're working with your team or your family or your own life or clients one-on-one or whatever, there's all of the body being to work with. And we can break it down into all its parts. I mean, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, energetic, vibrational. There's tools and techniques in all of that regard. But now the way the energies are, there's much even faster tools than that. But first of all, sometimes you got to get the learning on the balance of the freaking bike.
You do.
Balance.
Sometimes you've got to be on a scooter first,
Because if you're feeling in slunky, stuck, feeling in the depths of your inner life, then holy moly, it's time for change, And if you're feeling incredible and able to deal with those moments when they come up, and Rach, you are the alchemy of change now, aren't you? As you're moving through life, you see things when they're coming at you.
And very much so. I've actually got no words to it at the moment, because it is a very different way of seeing, feeling. It's not just I've got no words. See, I can't actually explain it. until it happens. And like if I do see something, there is nothing else happening that needs to be addressed to it. If that makes any sense, there's no attachment to anything unless the awareness becomes of it.
Yeah. So, and beautiful. So tell us, please, and just this winding up here, tell us what you're doing, because I love
it. Sensuality. So basically, message. Sensuality. So really what my calling at the higher level is, or if you want to call it that, it's masculine awakening, but the awareness being more of healthy masculine, healthy feminine. So it's bringing in the sensuality factors of being aware of how to be fully present in your life as the masculine, as the feminine, whether you are man or woman. It's the energies, it's the intrinsic energies that I work with, and that's forever evolving. And I've got beautiful people around me that are well aware of this as well. And so I'm not the one-stop shop. I hold a space. I help transmute sexual energy and become more, so it's cleansing. You can help with cleansing, but I am not the one that's going to heal you. So that's not, I don't call myself a healer. I'm not a healer. I am intuitive, definitely, and very happy to collaborate with other people in the line of the fields of healing. Is not the right word to use now, eh? It's just not. It's a collaboration with a whole lot of different beings now. The space can't be held by one person. It's just, it can't be done.
I love that you know that healing thing. Healing is a process back into wholeness or health. It's actually the process itself. So it's kind of been turned into more of a noun rather than, now let's free it up. It's the process of coming back to what you already naturally are. So yeah, there's a lot of language that's going to have shifts, I believe, or our meaning around it's going to have shifts. There's just so much that's available now, and some of the old tags, some of the old structures are really useful actually to still learn in order to not have to do them. So you don't find yourself, oh my gosh, I'm living in that old paradigm.
Yeah.
Aware of those things. Yeah.
Yeah. And very much so. The language, actually, just to simplify, I work with people's secrets. So that's removing all of the old paradigm of languaging around masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
I work with people's secrets. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And that in and of itself is incredibly freeing. Right? Rachel, thank you so very much for
thank you.
Us. There'll be only a very few people who would even consider this level of deep mentorship. So I really thank you for standing up, because it's been, it's probably time. And thank you for the push.
It is time. It's time. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. So if you want to get in touch with Rachel and your website details.
I'm currently just building one at the moment. So I'll give you the details if you want to add it on underneath here or something. But it's sensuallyawaken.com. That is live, but it's still being built.
And of course, KarenJanelleDavis.com. Get in there and you can have a look at the different things that are available of how you can connect and work with me if you feel this calling. Thank you very much.